Good afternoon. My name is Tim East, and I'm speaking to you this afternoon as chair of the California Self-Insurers Security Fund and as a fellow workers' compensation professional who's worked in the industry for about 35 years. Naturally, we're very concerned about the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on California employers and the millions of workers that have been affected by it. So I volunteered to share a few thoughts with you today on what our world might look like after COVID. Now, I love Yogi Berra, and one of my favorite lines of his would certainly apply to this effort. It's really hard to make predictions, especially about the future. But let's give it a try. We'll ask how the pandemic has permanently affected or is likely to permanently affect the nature of work and the workplace. Frankly, I'm surprised that anyone was really surprised by the COVID crisis, except perhaps the breadth and the speed with which it's transformed the world. But second, and as a direct consequence of the pandemic itself, was an economic catastrophe. And it spread unevenly across the globe and unevenly within each country. Job losses and business closures at a level and a speed never seen before, but with a strange mix of both winners and extreme losers. Now, a third impact of this crisis has been the troubling revelation about the power and the durability of misinformation. The Coronavirus Misinformation Tracking Center has identified over 265 websites in the United States alone that regularly and consistently publish misinformation about COVID-19. And these sites push theories that go from COVID was engineered in a lab in North Carolina, that garlic can cure the disease, and that vaccines will turn people into monkeys. In fact, 44% of one demographic group firmly believes that Bill Gates is using the vaccination program to plant microchips in people. The length and the list of COVID myths and the degree to which how firmly they held, well, it's beyond the scope of a presentation like this, but it's a significant factor in how hard it's going to be to overcome it. We're going to see an incredible expansion of remote working, remote learning, and remote meetings. I think we're all familiar with that. Telemedicine, which was sort of a novelty or only shifting into slowly an occasional option, I think it's going to become the new normal. Delivery services will be at your door, and they'll continue to expand to every corner of our lives. Amazon alone topped over 500,000 workers last year, up a stunning 43% in just 12 months. So while we're seeing trends that are well established begin to accelerate across the economy, we'll also see a distinct change in some key areas. I'd like to name three of them. The first is that what has been a demand for efficiency will be replaced by a recognition for the need for resiliency. Where before they were talking about how densely can we pack people together into offices, I think we're going to see the opposite of that. How much can we thin things out a little bit, even if it results in a temporary reduction in efficiency? COVID pandemic has taught us the value of teamwork over individualism, of collective action over personal performance. 20 years ago, we saw the growing emphasis in compensation structures and human capital management that was on rewarding the entrepreneurial spirit, finding those key productive individuals and then overloading the compensation into their direction, and pitting one leader of one business unit against another leader of another business unit and creating a workplace of competition. And I think COVID has opened our eyes that group achievement is important. Collaboration and cooperation are going to be the key words in the future, and maybe brought more into balance and not overemphasized just individual performance. So we're likely to continue to see virus screening and health checks as a regular part of the workplace. It will be similar to what many of us experienced in terms of security precautions after September 11th. What would have been unusual before will gradually become commonplace. When remote work means the easiness of no commute and very comfortable surroundings at home, it also means we're never really off work. One worker put it this way: sure, you can call it work from home, but frankly, for me, it means I now live at work. Now, that may not be a good thing, and it may impact us in terms of work-related stress claims, cumulative trauma, injuries that happen at home as opposed to in the workplace, where hundreds or thousands of workers were employed in single locations with safeguards and safety managers and safety procedures and supervisors to enforce them. It was more likely that accidents would be witnessed and documented and reported promptly. But in the future of the workforce and the workplace, widely distributed in constant self-directed motion, I don't think that'll be the case. Another big change is business travel, and it's not likely to return to pre-pandemic levels. And finally, for those of us who are in the profession of taking care of those who've been injured at work, we're going to have to take on the demanding task of tracking, investigating, and assessing the compensability of a whole new kind of claim. Pandemic exposures to a virus that is widely distributed and exposed throughout a society. According to the broker Lockton, 24 states so far have passed COVID presumptive changes either by law or by executive orders. Each state is different, so this is not going to be easy. It's in a lot of ways, it doesn't seem equitable, it doesn't seem fair, but it's the political and social reality. We'll have to take each piece of legislation specifically, according to the state of the region. We're going to have to follow the regulations, but we're going to have to integrate them with, frankly, similar and some frustratingly contradictory requirements on the health and safety side. And we'll have to come up with some kind of coherent scheme for managing all this. And all of it will far outlive the end of the current pandemic. Finally, before I close out today, I want to share with you something that Adil Najam from Boston University, he's a professor there, he called on us to consider 5 skills for the post-COVID world. First of all, we need a little humility. For too long, frankly, I know I've felt this way, and we as a society, we've been coasting along. And now we've had to face and recognize the fragility, the limitations, and the vulnerability of our society and our economy. A second skill we're going to have to build on is, in terms of both our personal and our corporate lives, is a greater degree of resilience. We need to develop within ourselves and within our teams and colleagues a greater sense of being able to deal with change and to adapt to it and find solutions to problems that may have never existed before. Third, we're going to have to get better at showing appreciation. Saying thank you and I'm glad you're here and I appreciate that more often and to more people and to services and those who are doing things that maybe we never took the time to notice and to be thankful for. Fourth, we need to develop our team skills, a sense of empathy, words of encouragement, a sense now more than ever of really saying and meaning that we're all in this together. And finally, we need to embrace technology, but in a different way. We don't need to embrace technology simply and only for how data can be analyzed or information can be mined for more information or more details on patterns and trends and behavior. We need to ask, how can technology be used to improve the delivery of the services and the goods that we provide? I hope this has given you some thoughts and some encouragement, and I appreciate you taking the time and for all that you do in your workplaces to help our employers and our businesses succeed and to take care of the injured workers that we're responsible for.